Hi there everyone, this is the video for the 3.06 and the 3.07 lesson. We're going to do two of those lessons together in one video. Okay, looking at lesson 3.06, this is actually the discussion assignment, so let's look through it and go from there. President Franklin Roosevelt's New Deal included many new programs designed to help the nation through its economic crisis and to help those in need. Many of Roosevelt's programs became law. Which of these programs and pieces of legislation have had a lasting impact on the nation? Which of these programs do you think are the most important? Okay, in this threaded discussion activity, you will pick one of the New Deal programs that's still around and do a little research. Then you'll present it with a summary of what it is, whether it was relief, recovery, or reform, and why. It can be a combo. Whether you think it's valuable today. And that just talks about how to do the discussion. What is the legacy of the New Deal? The New Deal came under criticism from both the left and the right. That means Democrats and Republicans. Some of its measures were more successful than others. Whatever the criticism, whatever its faults, it is clearly apparent the New Deal made some major accomplishments. Roosevelt's plan helped millions of families survive financial devastation. Its conservation and infrastructure projects improved the American landscape. It drew the nation's attention away from the pursuit of purely private gain and into the search for common good. The New Deal changed the role of the federal government and people's expectations of governments in fundamental ways. The federal government took on new responsibility for the well-being of Americans. Popular programs like Social Security made people look to the federal government as a protector of their welfare. Prompt, and this is what you'll be answering in your discussion. Briefly describe the New Deal program you chose to research, including your description whether it is relief, recovery, reform, and why. Explain whether you think it's valuable today. And then you'll go to the 3.06 prompt here, and when you're ready to make your post, you click on the respond, and you'll make your posting. Sample posting, you'll give it a subject line, and then you'll make your posting here. And when you're ready to complete it, push post response. And remember, for discussion boards, or post response here, remember, but I'm just going to press cancel because I'm not really going to post that. Remember, with the discussion board, you also have to, the other part of the grade is that responding to another classmate, and not just responding in nice job or oh that's really great, but a meaningful post that questions something they wrote about, or expanding on something they wrote about, to help guide the discussion along. So do remember, you do have to make a response post to somebody else to earn full credit. If there's no other, like today, let's say I'm the first one, well, there's nobody to respond to. Check again a few days later, a day or two later, and there should be somebody by then that you could make a response post to. However, you can also earn points for this discussion assignment by participating in the Class Connect. We sometimes will do Class Connect discussions for the assignment. So for this one, we will have a Class Connect. We'll be doing the 3.06 discussion together. So be checking your announcements for when that Class Connect is, and attend and participate in that Class Connect. If you would rather not post to the online discussion, that's your choice. It's not, you don't have to do it in the Class Connect, but it is another way to earn points for this assignment. So as you can see, the prompt is describing a New Deal program. Now if you want to, I know there's a chart on page, let me quickly look up what page that is. It's a really nice chart of different New Deal programs. Okay, if you look here on page 705, it's a nice chart, major New Deal programs. It explains which ones are relief, recovery, reform, the names of them, and what their main purpose was. And then you can always, of course, go back in the reading and to get the further description of some of the programs. So, but that's just a nice chart to start from, to look at all the programs at a glance, or some of the major ones at a glance. but they're also included in the lesson reading that you had read prior to this lesson. For example, the whole section on the Social Security Act, a section on the Rural Electrification Administration, so on and so forth. So make sure that you post that or participate in the Class Connect to get your points for the assignment. Now let's go on to lesson 3.07. The New Deal created many programs affecting so many people that it's hard to grasp it all. Take some time to reflect on the people, the problems, and the programs as you practice skills in listening, observing, and analyzing. What are your thoughts on the New Deal? Goals for this lesson: examine programs of the New Deal to assess their impact on American life during the Great Depression. Demonstrate mastery of important knowledge and skills learned in previous lessons. Let's look at lesson resources. There's actually no reading guide for this one. And you see what we're doing today is completing the virtual field trip meeting needs head-on activity. And then it says complete the graded assignment. However, we are not doing the 3.07 graded assignment. I repeat once again, we are not doing this graded assignment from lesson 3.07. And then read the chapter 31 highlights online and take the 3.07 quiz. And here's the virtual field trip. Now it's time for you to learn more about the Depression era problems and people. Assess some first-hand experience via the sites below. Consider the programs, what they were intended to do, and how they affected ordinary people. Then write a brief summary of your own observations about the people and the programs, highlighting at least 3 of them. Okay, if you'd like to get in the proper 30s mood, begin with some music. Let's look at this real quick. And we can look at the Depression era music. Oh, who would we want to listen to? Let's pick right here. Is this gonna... Okay, Depression. Here we go. I Got Rhythm. And it explains about it. Okay, I thought maybe it'd play the music for us, but we're not gonna, you can look through that. Otherwise, start with one farmer's balance sheet and listen to his daughter-in-law. She'll discuss everything from poisoning grasshoppers to FDR in the dirty 30s. And here is his 1928 income versus his 1932 income. Now let's just look at cream sales for the full year. In 1928, it was $105.90. And during the Great Depression, $6.45. That's a huge decrease. Egg sales in 1928, $161.07, $1.85. And as you can see, it continues going down with all the other as we go along with the other major farm expenses. Some of the expenses were smaller in 1932. However, when you look at the income, it's pretty a big discrepancy there. And then it talks about, you can click on the links and you can listen to them or you can see more. This one here, Leroy Hinkle remembers what it's like to live on $1 a day. You know, just other really nice first-person accounts of living through the Great Depression. Okay, the next one, learn about what followed the crash and how it impacted people in towns and cities in the Great Plains. So let's look at this website. It's the same, from the same Living History Farm site, but just talks about people right after the Great Depression, and then there's first-person accounts if you click on the links. And it'll just be a transcript, or you can listen to it as well. Okay, continuing on. See a photo of the first Security and Exchange Commission and listen to someone who did not have the benefit of FDIC banking, so someone who lost some money in the Great Crash or when the banks closed. There's the first Security and Exchange Commission, and just more first-person accounts. And of course you can look through these more thoroughly. You should look through these more thoroughly. I'm just kind of giving you a brief overview. And here's about the Social Security Administration. Here's just a snippet of this letter. Somebody was writing to President Roosevelt. It says, "Dear sir, I write to ask your assistance in securing an old age pension for my mother." Listen to someone who remembers the Work Progress Administration to find out how workers were paid. And here are some links for that. Now take some time to look at some of the art created through the WPA. Scroll down and click on your state to see what's created there. If it is not possible to view work, choose another state. So let's look at this one. So we're going to search for Minnesota. Post Office New Deal artwork. There's Milica, Sebeka, Shakopee, Caledonia, that's near me, Hastings, and some of these aren't live links, you can't actually see them, but there's a listing. So if you live near any of these locations, Breckenridge, Caledonia, Cambridge, Chisholm, Cloquet, Ely, Grand Rapids, Hastings, Hopkins, Hutchinson, International Falls, Litchfield, Long Prairie, Marshall, Morris, Rochester, Park Rapids, St. Cloud, St. James, St. Paul, White Bear Lake, Sauk Center, Wabasha, Wayzata, and Windham. You can go and look for these artworks in your local post offices. So let's look at the one here in Caledonia. Most of the post office works of art were funded under the Treasury Department section commissions. These works were created using TRAP funds, so indicated. Although the WPA funded the construction of post office buildings, the artwork was not WPA, but it was usually produced under the section or TRAP programs. And here's one in the post office in Caledonia, Minnesota. Hog raising. That's pretty cool. Going back. So that's just post offices. Is there anything else? Minnesota history topics, WPA art projects. You'll have other ones that you can find there as well. So that's pretty neat to see how the New Deal WPA art affected our state. Let's see. Then lastly, finally, take a closer look at the Federal Emergency Relief Act and what it intended to provide. Be sure to click on the pictures to look at the work that people did. Okay, we have mattress factory stuffing room workers. So let's click on this picture. And here will be a little more information. Or you see it, I guess, a little more up close. So that was one job. Mattress factory stuffing room. It's in Washington. Okay, that's just one example. What's another job? Brass band at Volunteer Park. Blacksmiths work inside a forage shop. Food bank interior. New school roof construction. So different jobs that were put forth from the Federal Emergency Relief Administration. And continuing on, we're not doing the graded assignment, remember that. But now let's read through the Chapter 31 highlights. When Franklin Roosevelt assumed the presidency in March 1933, he faced collapsing banks, severe unemployment, and a continuing farm crisis. Roosevelt's first 100 days in the office pushed aside the laissez-faire approach in favor of a more legislative and executive action than any other administration. Throughout the 1930s, an alphabet soup of legislation brought the FDIC, CCC, HOLC, AAA, TVA, and more to provide relief, recovery, and reform. President Roosevelt's charm and effective communication through a series of fireside chats led to public support and patience. Opposition to the New Deal rose to the voice of Senator Huey Long, Father Charles Coughlin, and Francis Townsend, and eventually led to a second New Deal. The Supreme Court struck down the National Industrial Recovery Act, the Farm Mortgage Foreclosure Act, and the Agricultural Adjustment Act. Roosevelt's response to criticism was a second New Deal that brought the Works Progress Administration, the Public Works Administration, the Rural Electrification Administration, Social Security, and the National Labor Relations Board. With labor rights protected by the NLRB, union membership, especially in the CIO, tripled between 1933 and 1939. Okay, almost out of time here, so if you run out of time, just remember to take the 3.07 quiz at the end, and that will be in information and lessons 304, 305, and then today's lesson. So don't forget to review